Hello, fifth graders. So yesterday we were talking about the differences between parallelograms and trapezoids. So remember, a parallelogram is a shape that has two sets of parallel sides, and a trapezoid only has one set of parallel sides. So let's look at some examples. These three shapes, would you consider these three shapes parallelograms or trapezoids? Well, they're going to be parallelograms because both sides are parallel. Now, these shapes, would you consider these parallelograms or trapezoids? Well, they're trapezoids because they only have one set of parallel sides. These two sides, if you were to continue them, they would intersect. Same with these two sides. If you were to continue, they would eventually intersect. So we're going to talk about a few more shapes today. And we're going to start with a shape called a rectangle. We've all heard of it before. Okay, the definition of a rectangle is that it has 4 right angles. Okay, so this is the standard rectangle that we're used to seeing. But a rectangle can also look like this or this. As long as the shape has 4 right angles, it's a rectangle. The next shape is a rhombus. The definition of a rhombus is that it has all sides the same length. So what you usually see with shapes, if they're saying that all sides are the same length, they draw a line like this through all sides, and that says they're all the same length. So this is a rhombus, all sides are the same length. This is a rhombus, all sides are the same length. And this is a rhombus, all sides are the same length. These two shapes are the standard shape that you think of when you think of rhombus, almost like a diamond, but it can also look like this. So you've noticed that this shape is a rectangle and a rhombus, which leads us to our next quadrilateral, which is a square. And a square is really cool because a square has all sides the same length. All right, all sides are the same length, and it also has 4 right angles. So a square is a rectangle and a rhombus. It's both of those shapes because it has both of their definitions. So a square is really a lot of different shapes. And I'm going to show you a little diagram that may help you out a little bit. So I'm turning to page 867. So I would suggest turning to that in your workbook. All right, so on page 867, there's a little almost like family tree, okay? So the top of the family tree is a quadrilateral. So that means any 4-sided shape. If it has 4 sides, it's a quadrilateral. After being determined that a shape is a quadrilateral, it can be broken up into 2 different categories. After it's a quadrilateral, it could either have 2 sets of parallel sides and be a parallelogram, or 1 set of parallel sides and be a trapezoid. That's the next step, okay? Now, trapezoids are kind of all on its own. If it's a trapezoid, it's just a quadrilateral and that's it. But if it's a parallelogram, there's a chance that the shape could also be other things, okay? So if it has 4 sides, it's quadrilateral. If it has both sides parallel, it's a parallelogram. And then it can be broken up into 2 more categories. From a parallelogram, it could be a rectangle, meaning it has 4 right angles, or it could be a rhombus, meaning that it has all 4 sides the same length, okay? After determining if it's one of these, okay, and if it's not, then the shape's just a parallelogram and a quadrilateral. But if it is, maybe let's say it's a rectangle, then you can look down to the last category. If it's either a rhombus or a rectangle, you can see if it has all sides the same length and 4 right angles. So 4 right angles and all sides the same length. If it is, then it's a square. So basically, if it falls under a certain shape, it's all of the rest. So a square is a rectangle, a rhombus, a parallelogram, and a quadrilateral. A rectangle is a parallelogram and a quadrilateral. A rhombus is a parallelogram and a quadrilateral, okay? So whatever it falls underneath, everything on top of it is what it is, okay? So a square is always a rectangle. But can a rectangle always be a square? Nope. Okay, in order for it to be a square, it has to have 4 right angles and 4 equal sides. So we're going to try to identify certain shapes now. So I'm turning to page, I'm turning to page 861 in my workbook right now, page 861. So let's look at this first shape, okay? Again, start at the very top. Actually, I'm not going to look at page 861. I am going to look at some examples, and we're going to use the chart. So right now, I'm going to use the chart. Okay, I'm actually going to use the chart on page 864. It's the same exact chart that we're used to, okay, to kind of help us out. So let's look at this first shape, okay? You start at the very top of the chart. Okay, so does this shape have 4 sides? Yes. So it's a quadrilateral. We'll start at the top. So I'll just write quad. It's a quadrilateral. So next we'll break up. Does it have 2 sets of parallel sides or does it have 1 set of parallel sides? What do you think? It only has 1 set of parallel sides, so that means it's a trapezoid. So if this shape's a trapezoid, can it be any of these shapes? Nope. So the names of this shape is a quadrilateral and a trapezoid, and that's it. So let's look at this. Start at the very top again. Does it have 4 sides? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So it's a quadrilateral. Does it have 2 sets of parallel sides or 1 set of parallel sides? What do you think? Well, I see it has no parallel sides, so it's neither of these. So the only name for this shape is a quadrilateral. Let's look at this shape. Okay, does this shape have 4 sides? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, so it's a quadrilateral. Okay, does it have 2 sets of parallel sides or 1 set of parallel sides? Both sides are parallel, so it's also a parallelogram. So use this chart to help you. After a parallelogram, it's either a rectangle or a rhombus. So does it have 4 right angles? Yes, so it's a rectangle. Does it have all sides equal in length? So you may be seeing a little pattern. So this shape then has to be a square. So the most specific name for this shape is a square, but it's also a rhombus, rectangle, parallelogram, and quadrilateral. So squares are pretty cool. And let's look at this last question. Okay. Does it have 4 sides? Start at the top again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So it's a quadrilateral. Both sides parallel. 1 side parallel. Both sides parallel. So it's a parallelogram. Four right angles. All sides the same length. Has 4 right angles. So it's a rectangle. Does it have all sides the same length? Nope, so it's not a rhombus and it's not a square, okay? So basically what I was doing was just using this chart, always starting at the top and following my definitions to determine what each shape is. Again, a shape, as you can see, can have more than one name, okay? So for this one, square is the most specific. For this one, rectangle is the most specific. But it's also a parallelogram and a quadrilateral, all right? So when you are completing your Google form that's attached to this Ed puzzle, please use this chart to help you identify the shapes. All right? Good luck. Have a good day.